Nitant sir, welcome to Kannur branch, sir.
Thank you. Wish I was there physically.
Shall we start, sir?
Yes.
Most respected speaker for today's virtual seminar, C.A. Nitant, Trilokekar sir. Vice Chairman, Secretary of Kannur branch, C.A. Suprasad sir. Immediate past Chairman, C.A. Jayaprakash. Treasurer, C.A. Dinesh K. Kumar. All the illustrious past Chairman of Kannur branch, my fellow members in the profession, friends and dear students, a very good evening to all of you. This is the first seminar after the new managing committee took charge on 1st March 2021. And I take this opportunity to thank everyone for your presence and support during the changeover function. As we are once again about to commence the bank branch audits, and some of the banks, including Federal Bank, has already sent their appointment letters. Completing the bank audit at the expected level of performance, and that too in a very limited allotted time, is a big question mark everyone in front of us. And the risk that is attached to the bank audit is something beyond our imagination. And if something happens tomorrow, fraud or the like, will pass later to the auditor. Dear friends and members, today we are blessed with a rare personality, one of the best professionals who can talk on bank audit, especially on frauds in bank, is none other than C.A. Nitant P. Trilokekar from Mumbai, with more than 36 years of experience. Sir, I take this opportunity to welcome to this virtual CPA seminar of Kannur branch. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
I also take this opportunity to welcome all my fellow members, all my friends and dear students to this virtual CP seminar. A few more announcements are there. There are 2 CP seminars are also coming on the way. One on next 22nd March, that is on the next Monday, bank audit seminar with the close-by-close analysis of LFER by C.A. Neeraj from RG Enterprise. And one more seminar by C.A. Vivek Satyan from Ernakulam on IRSC norms, including emphasis on audit documentation. Please be ready for that seminars on the next week. We have already circulated that ARS for the next year. There is no change in the amount, rupees 4,000 per person per member for those who have passed after 1/4/2016, and for the rest, for the others, it is 6,000 as of the last year. Kindly make the payment at your earliest convenience. Dear members, please remember to fill and submit the Google form, which is already circulated, to get the CPA credit. Now I request our immediate past chairman, C.A. Jayaprakash, to formally introduce the speaker to the audience. Jayaprakash, please.
Thank you, Reggie. Most respected chairman of Kannur branch, C.A. P.J. Reggie, the chief guest and speaker of today's bank audit seminar, C.A. Nitant P. Trilokekar sir, vice chairman and secretary of Kannur branch, C.A. Suprasad sir, other MC members of the profession, my dear student friends. I'm extremely delighted and honored by getting this great opportunity to introduce before you the vibrant speaker and the chief guest of our today's virtual CP seminar on bank audit. Our speaker, born in Malaysia, has schooled in Mumbai and Hong Kong. He's in practice since 1985 under the name Nitant P. Trilokekar and Company. He has completed by date more than 500 bank branch audits, and he has also led system audit teams to more than 20 banks in private sector and the cooperative bank sector, in addition to pharmaceuticals, manufacture and BPO sectors. He has led team for forensic investigation of frauds in banks, in addition to unearthing frauds during statutory and internal audit circumstances. He has conducted internationally approved quality and control audits of banking software for software houses providing banking software to Indian and international banks. He has authored more than 16 books plus 2 editions of books, some of which are Contemporary Bank Audit, Information Systems Security in Banks, TDS in Banks and Finance Companies, Guide to Information Technology Act 2000, Bank Audit Practice Manual, Auditing in Computer Environment. He has written his first fiction book titled The Accidental Hacker, which is in the market. This was appreciated by the erstwhile Defense Minister, who is personally found him to appreciate the pointers in the books. RBI Committee on IT Security in Banks and Finance Companies has also officially acknowledged his book as reference material. He is listed in Wikipedia for fraud detection practiced by pioneering techniques. He has been interviewed twice on Doordarshan. He has written various articles in leading newspaper and magazine. He is visiting faculty to training centers of many banks and management colleges. He is regular paper reader at seminars arranged by various council of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. He is visiting faculty to management institutions, including those under the Bombay University for the subject of strategic management, reconstruction, acquisition and merger, and quantitative analysis, etc. With these brief words, I am introducing before you the speaker of today's seminar, the vibrant personality, CA Nitant P. Trilokekar, sir. Sir, thank you very much for accepting our invitation to Kannur branch. Thank you very much. Now over to Reggie. Reggie, please.
Sir, over to you, sir. Speaker, sir, please.
Should I start?
Yes, sir, please.
Okay, I'll start sharing the screen. Thank you very much, Chairman, Vice Chairman, Past Chairman, and officials of the branch. Thank you very much for calling me. And I'm very much honored every time you do that. Resume share. Okay. Can you see the share screen?
Yes, sir, it's visible. Clear, sir.
Visible, okay. At any point of time, if I am not audible or something like that, because after some time my voice volume may go down. So you please interrupt me rightfully and then tell me, okay? Have I shared any notes with you?
No, sir.
No, I see. Then I'm available on this internet and YouTube and the email. I have been on the panel for helping the statutory auditors during their course of audit. Not many questions have come, luckily. That means we are all knowledgeable. But in case anybody, even if I'm not on the panel, anybody is welcome to email me. I do check up, especially during March 15th to April 15th. It is good that Federal Bank has given the appointment letter, but as you mentioned, it's always a matter of time. Now, ironically, I'm acknowledging that there is less time, and yet I'm saying that during the statutory audit, you should find fraud. That is the whole theme of my talk. It's a social requirement instead of a legal requirement today, but that is what we'll see how. My aim is that you can see the red flags within 10 seconds or less than 30 seconds, and that is how I shall prove to you. In my course of discussion, I'm covering using the CBS environment in our favor, as well as using it to report whatever we require. In every meeting with the bank officials at the time of the audit, the aim is their aim is to tell us to do it fast. And it irritates all of us so much that we say that why don't you get it signed on 28th of March instead of April 4th? You know, not much additional work of checking will be done in 4 days. How do you expect me to do this kind of a check? So this is the power which I want to give you. Let me start with the presentation. For those who have picked up my books earlier, these are the cover pages of my books. I'm not here to sell them because they are all sold out. And the novel also is a few hundred, only one, not 100, 20 are remaining with me. If I was coming to your branch physically, I would have picked them up and brought them to you. The last book which is here is the study material for the final. What happened was that I was appointed on the syllabus committee for information technology, right from the beginning start to the end. And we kept on asking, will there be authors to write it? So they kept on saying, yes, yes, yes. And in the end, they dropped it in my lap. So I said, okay, I will write the whole study material. Give me a year. He said, no, I can't give you a year. I can give you only 3 weeks. So I said, 3 weeks, I cannot write the full study material. The student who will pass tomorrow will sit next to me as a competitor or my associate. So he has to talk sense. So in the end, I ended up writing 3 chapters. But believe me, it was very tough. to take it to that level. It's easy to talk hypothetically, but to put it in the study material, it is tough. Anyway, let's go on. What was there in the earlier slide was just one thing that I'm not sharing the slide printouts because I'm sharing the screens which I've done during the audit, and you are aware of the confidentiality clause that we sign always. And if I'm showing it to you and not printing out I'm not leaving a proof. That is my only escape route. So let us see the realistic situation of a fictitious bank that you have attended a branch audit seminar. Today is 18th, but let's say on 15th, and you slept only for 5 minutes after lunch. Then you get an appointment letter on 18th, which is today. Then there's a meeting of all branch auditors with the general manager who tells you that finish early. Then you luckily had a branch where you could visit. So you gave the branch manager management representative letter. He refused, saying that the head office has not told me. And then he suggests don't start any audit before April 1. See you on April 1. And March 31st, you do silver and investment verification. Now here, during the articleship, I was told, let's do silver verification. I thought really we are going to count silver bricks or silver coins. It was just a British term for coins and cash. So there's nothing exciting over there. I learned the hard way. Then from April 1 to April 7th, you did your audit. LFAR took most of the time, especially this year, because it's a new format. And then on June 6th, a fraud is unearthed. This fraud is reported by the press, and your branch is among the 8 branches affected. So what will happen in this kind of a situation? Can one person at least remain on? It will help me a lot. Video. Yeah, that will help. So next morning you read, this is if you see the date is June 1 to 2021. That blah 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 800 crores affected and all that, and then the press is very much they want dramatic statement. This fraud has come to light with just a month after the audits of these banks were completed, and none of the audit reports raised any alarm. Here, most of us for the last so many years have been saying that bank branch audit is a balance sheet audit. It is not to unearth frauds. But can you tell this to your neighbor who has saved money for his child's marriage and put it into that bank, and now he cannot withdraw unless it's an emergency, and a marriage is not considered an emergency, only medical emergency it's considered. So therefore, the requirement to at least find out some frauds which are could be easily found, the very deep frauds, and like the Bank of Punjab where it was not connected to the CBS, possibly we may go a little free. Some statistics in 2020, RBI has reported so many cases, 98% of them were advances. So here in the time lag of fraud detection was either 24 months or 63 months, which means 2 statutory audits have gone by and 5 in case of larger frauds of 100 crores and above. Now, due to these statistics, you can appreciate that in the new LFAR, the top 10 borrowers, we are supposed to have an analysis and report. We were having analysis. I'm sure all of us were doing analysis, but we were negotiated by the branch manager saying that, okay, out of the 12 stock statements, only 3 were delayed. But the 3 which were delayed are the last 3. So out of materiality, we were negotiated, talking out of it. Now, luckily, that RBI has mentioned that we have to analyze on various parameters which are given, and therefore we are going to report it. And believe me, there will be a YouTube which I'll be loading tonight. It is already ready. It is therefore edit on a checklist for advance accounts, the top 10 accounts. And this checklist has maybe 27 points, which you can increase. I'll give it to you in Word. And why it is there, there are comments in the checklist, which you I'll email it to you, the link, and then you can advance the link to all the members. So today, I would like to make a very dramatic statement that due to the new format of LFAR, you can never have a clean report of any branch. At least 1, or out of the 10, at least 8 will have a problem. Some problem or the other, serious or non-serious. And that will lead you on to any fraud if it takes place. No fraud, fine. Let me share with you what happened 15 years ago. I was given concurrent audit of a bank. In that bank, they suddenly told me after 6 months, identify the top 10 borrowers and top 10 depositors and their condition. I said, this is an internal matter. Until then, nobody was asking the auditor to do that. The managers were doing that to understand the deposit advances, portfolio health. Now they're asking me to do it. I said, fine, I'm appointed. Now they are telling me I'll do it. I was shocked to read the names of the first 10 borrowers when I found it out, because for the first 9, for 9 of the borrowers, I had put a black star on the analysis of the borrower saying NPA alert. I'm telling the bank that this is going to be an NPA tomorrow. They don't like it when I put a star because they can't ignore it. It is stark over there, right? In a bold letters. Now that scared me, because this means the health of my branch is going to be bad. But then I realized that the branch has got nothing to do with the health of these borrowers, because all these borrowers are sanctioned by the head office. They are large borrowers. That scared me still more, because it is not the health of the branch, it is the health of the bank which is a problem. The bank is still alive. It went through a lot of acquisition of banks, and therefore, you know what happens to a balance sheet when it acquisitions. I have talked about acquisitions and mergers. So the assets and the cash flow of the other banks really help this bank to stabilize. That's all I can say. Anyway, my duty was done as an auditor, and I had already identified 9 out of the 10. In case you are doing this bank, I have mentioned over here that this is reported by RBI. State Bank of India lost the most. Typical situation that in any bank branch, number of audits are there, statutory, the names which you have not even heard, like a SNAP audit or a semi-annual audit of big branches which the statutory auditors do. And this is the state of the bank manager. He is always facing some audit or the other. And yet there are frauds.
Will it be all right if I call you back?
In advances, frauds you can classify as by borrowers and by accident or by the staff. By borrowers, either premeditated or activity after bad performance. Now, this point of activity after bad performance in in the year 2021, bad performance is a general rule. Everybody wants to remain healthy. We have been told by the Supreme Court in a single line, which I dispute, of course, that if the account is healthy as on August 31st, 2020, we cannot make it into an NPA. We cannot classify it downgraded. If we are already downgraded, then we can do something about it. I think it is misinterpreted because of the moratorium of the interest. If the moratorium of the interest has to be shifted out of the calculation of the prudential norms, but I don't know what in the end you will be doing. Let's see. In a pre-sanction, there can be fraud in pre-sanction also because of the subsidy of loans. There are a lot of weaker section which is encouraged to take loan, like seed capital for small business or cottage industry, etc., or the person, a hawker or a small entrepreneur. The people who are not classified or who cannot be eligible over there and yet have more money, they do a fraudulent application by claiming to be eligible for that. For example, a small loan for vegetable vendors of 5,000 was announced, and a person comes there with a vehicle asking for an application form from the manager. The manager dismisses him. But as a statutory auditor, we cannot see this visual of the person coming with in a car or a motorcycle. Wrong facts in an evaluation note. Here, I would request you to see especially those who have a group advance. Please note that I'm sharing with you even this due to the CPS as well as the advances a little bit, because you cannot isolate the two. And I'm sharing with you the fraud methodology adopted by me, which can be improved by you, but I'm just sharing what I have done. In a group advance, which naturally fell in the top 10, a new advance was given or an enhanced advance was given. And at that proposal, the branch has mentioned that all other loans, all of the advances of the group companies are in order. I looked at the date of the signature and I looked at the status of the accounts as on that date. It was wrongly mentioned. one account had slipped. It is quite possible, innocently speaking, that the note was prepared before and this was signed a month late when this account slipped. But if the management is wrongly informed, then it is a problem. You please remember the definition for fraud. Fraud means a statement made by a person who knows it to be untrue. Due to the date of the signature, the knowledge of the account has slipped, is known to be untrue, is assumed circumstantially, and therefore this would classify as a fraud, and I would classify the whole group as a fraud. Therefore, somehow he has impressed upon the bank. Now, this is where you should start, is what I would say. That ignorant of track record of NPA in other branches, suppose the account is also held in other branches. Today we have customer number. Therefore, on that basis, the track record of the health is available. Value of asset to be financed, we'll see later on also, but normally the intention is that a businessman would like to do business on somebody else's money. When it's somebody else's money, he does not lose sleep. He does not take as much care as if it was his own. And false KYC, the bank has to ensure verification of the KYC, not just looking at the printed paper of PAN card or Aadhaar card or any other information which is coming printed from in the hands of the customer. There are ways of verifying it, and PAN numbers and all that, banks have a license to verify that. So that process should be there. And this therefore falls under the process audit of the advance, where we are supposed to comment in the LFAR. Sanction beyond discretionary power. Here auditors have to be careful, because last time I was given a very large branch where the discretionary power of the manager was around 2 crores. So when I'm coming down to a middle scale or a smaller branch where his powers are much lower, I have to remember and not forget. Like last year I was okay, saying okay, he is given 2 crores, up to 2 crores he is given okay. Here 2 crores is beyond his discretionary power. And what is very funny is that one of the managers says that, you know, most of the managers have got power to give against NSC or against the fixed deposit of the own bank. So against NSC is a common thing. It is a very secure thing as long as it is hypothecated to the bank or it is pledged on the behind it and it's given. It is stamped and the post office signs. I saw such advance. Only problem was the borrower was the manager himself. When the manager himself he says that I've got the discretionary power to give loan of NSC up to 10 lakhs or no limit. But I said you cannot give to yourself. Discretionary power does not mention this principle, but it's general principle. I cannot give a loan to myself. This is a principle even outside the world of banking. As a trustee, I cannot take the benefit of the trust. It is a rule given by the courts. So therefore, here you have to be careful about that. Then exposure to a group. If there are a group, you have to please keep the headlights on or whatever to alert, because there is a credit policy of the bank which says that X amount of percentage or X amount only can be exposed to a group. Some of them mention very clearly 25 crores is a maximum to a group of companies which I can give as a bank. Now this has turned out to be important, or 5% of the bank's capital, because Bank of Punjab and Maharashtra Cooperative Bank fraud, the percentage was 85% of the bank's capital was given to one group of companies, which could have been found out by any other auditor. I don't know how it was not found out. Anyway, documents not filled in properly. Out of the 10 which you're going to take, you have to ensure that you're taking the funded as well as the non-funded advance, because the documentation is important. Documentation, you can imagine there was a power generation company and the bank had a document entitled hypothecation of movables. In a power generation company, I don't think movables are more. Maybe the cars which are there in the large estate of the factory or the generating station, those are the only movables which are there, and there are hardly any amount. In case it went to court, the bank would lose very badly. So similarly, wrong document taken. General approaches to fraud during the audit is find the red flags. Red flags is my definition of alertness, not the red flag as mentioned by RBI, because they have mentioned red flags 22, 23 red flags. Some of them are you already know. Review the red flag transaction, that is, make sure you study it well, upside down, inside out, and then write down what is so abnormal about the transaction. Then understanding you share with the management. Normally, this is not advised, but I do share, trying to ensure that it does not backfire on me. For example, a bill discounting sanction was given 24 lakhs to a borrower, and my assistant reported that all the bills which are purchased are of round figures of 2 lakhs each. So I could say that the round figure means there is no actual exchange of goods. So I discussed with the manager, and the manager said that the relationship of the borrower with the supplier, with the customer, is of a long term, and it is much above 24 lakhs. Goods are being supplied, and this is being discounted on this basis that in the year it will be adjusted. So I just told them that you can't do this. It is not a open order, open credit available to the borrower. It has to be supported by the goods documentation, without which we are going to classify this as an accommodation bill. And therefore, the formality of documentation also is important. Even though this is not a fraud, on paper, it looks like a fraud. Then document your findings in detail and statutory report them. You have screen dumps of available to you of the screen of the accounts, etc. You please keep them, and some of them I'm sharing with you here. In post-sanction non-fulfillment of critical terms of security, a security is mentioned in the CBS, everything is there, but it is not mortgaged. The moment money is given to a borrower before the mortgage is done, believe me, it will never be done, or he will substitute a lower value, and the use of the funds therefore will not be monitored. Inspection, this is one of the LFAR terms. LFAR checklist for the 10 borrowers. The last inspection date, they ensure that it is somewhere between the last month and the month of your visit. But if you go to see the file and inspection, then you will see that it is not available for the rest of the months, and this is just a manipulation to hoodwink you. I'll be sharing a document which just says what kind of advances these are. Let's not go into that. You already know that. In case of old loans, where documents are still old, kindly remember that there is a law of statutory limitations where they say that above 3 years you cannot make a claim. And some banks take a document acknowledging that this is a loan. However, if an installment is paid into the loan account or the cash credit, it is an acknowledgement by action, is my opinion. But to be absolutely safe and legally safe from all sides, such a document is taken. So in case the documents are old, then you can ensure that this is taken. Here I'm explaining the sanction limit and the drawing power and the drawing limit. The drawing limit is the drawing power or the sanction limit, whichever is less. This is just a refresher point. Please also remember that non-funded limits are to be looked into. Slides are moving, no? Are the slides moving?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Now letters of credit, bank guarantees, and letters of comfort. There are no letters of comfort today. They are banned by the Reserve Bank of India. So in case you see any which are alive, please report it as a unauthorized transaction. And all these are called non-funded, but believe me, they are always funded. Not just on happening of an event. We'll see later on when we see a Nirav Modi's case. Then NPA manipulation. Since it's a software and of CBS, some of the banks have got an NPA software which does the classification. But there are ways and means of cheating the software. One is by giving a temporary advance. Temporary advance is given and therefore the limits are raised, so it is not outside the limit. Example, cash credit. If it is overdrawn for more than 3 months, it becomes an NPA. So what the bank does is in February it raises the limit, so it is not overdrawn for 3 months, or it is closer by transfer to another account. There is a video by me on the YouTube on this aspect, closure to other account of the old borrowers with new account. How to find this out? You have a list of borrowers of last year, that is 31st March last year, 20 and 21, 31st March. Between the two, you see that these are the new borrowers. Of the new borrowers, it's quite possible that the names have changed because proprietary names are easy to get. All they have to do is get some Aadhaar card of the business or something of that sort, and then it is done. What does not change is, however, the PAN number of the borrower. PAN number remains the same when the individual remains the same. Names may be common. So here, in case you have suspicion, go into a little deeper and find out. You will be able to find out because the business is normally remaining the same. So the new accounts you're going to check anyway for the top 10. So new accounts also is what I recommend you check. Then the big dangerous one is this credit entry. Here there is no money coming in. What happens is, as on 30th or 31st of March, a check is deposited in the cash credit account, and due to also having loan, it is transferred to the loan account. Then on April 2nd, this check has bounced. So actually no fund has come in, but the NPA software looks at the credits into the account and therefore classifies it as normal. Therefore, from the CBS system, kindly take out check return outwards, register and look only for April 1, 2 and 3 and find out if these are the checks which are deposited in borrower accounts which would have otherwise turned bad. Therefore, only 2 to 3 days check return register is what I ask you to check. And believe me, in your branch, it will not be more than 1 page, not more than even 15 lines of check return register on April 1, 2 and 3. And then of course, the last one, the NPA percentage. To keep the percentage below 5%, what happens is, as on March, right at the end, high risk loans are given. So that what happens is the total goes up and my 8% now becomes less than 5%. So the last month advances, whenever we have seen the advances given in the last month, believe me, you won't believe me at all. I know 100% of these advances were very high risk and the documentations were not complete. The manager was telling you, reserve your comments for that. I said, then you tell the regional manager, my report will not be done. Why you give the money beforehand? All the documents are done, all the guarantees are in place. On March 25th, they're giving an advance just to increase the total number of advances so the percentage goes less. Repeated temporary advance. I was in transit traveling in the city when I got a call from a general manager of an earlier bank which we have done audit. He's saying, I got a problem with this current auditor. So I said, I firstly do not talk to the auditor, trying to tell him, impress him from the bank side. But you tell me your problem and you only deal with it. So he tells me that the branch managers have discretion of 10% above this cash credit limit to give. This is a temporary advance. Although this cash credit limit may have been advanced by the zonal office, regional office, manager has a discretionary power in general to give more than 10, to give more than the drawing power, more than the sanction limit. If he has got drawing power or drawing limit, 10% of the sanction limit only. So I said, what is the problem here? He said, we have given 10% to all the accounts. You cannot give 10% to all the accounts for 12 months in a year. It is to be given only in case of need, only in case of a temporary finance required by the borrower. If you have given it from April of 1 year to March of the next year, It is over and above his discretionary power. It is not for a temporary requirement. There is a big problem. I said, I'm sorry, you have a big problem, you deal with it, and don't involve me in that. Because they feel that I'm able to influence the auditors. I don't like that. I don't like anybody influencing me, so I don't like to influence others. Transfer to new account. As I mentioned to you, this year there will be a lot of cases, so please be careful. Take a jotting. A jotting is available in the CBS system. Take a jotting of the last year and take a jotting of this year, either physical or you can take a soft copy, convert it into Excel. Look at the new accounts which are open. Don't just, I mean, initial years of my practice, I used to ask them which are the new accounts which are open. They used to take the jotting and mark a line below this. These are all new. It's very simple. All the last account number of last year of every department, say a fixed asset loan, vehicle loan, the last number of last year is from next number of that is for this year. So these are the new accounts which are open. So these new accounts which are open, look at the dates from which they are open, and the last few, right from December onwards, are the ones which you should look at whether the new accounts are of the old borrowers. They will not be starting with a balance of a round figure or a sanction note or something like that. It will come with a very funny opening balance. That is what I suspect, but you can see. In one bank, that last line I'm talking about, it led to the closure of a bank and the auditor is absconding. All the old accounts which they were never paying, they were transferred to a new account with a higher sanction limit, and the advance budget target was achieved, but there was no recovery. So what you have to do is take a ratio. This again, I'm telling you, it will take you just maybe 15 seconds if you punch very slowly on the calculator. Interest received was percentage of the advances. How much interest have you recovered? You will find that in this case where we were the system auditor of this bank for before it went down 3 years later. So I analyzed, if I was a statutory auditor, could I have found this out? I just looked at the printed annual report and I found out that the cost, the interest recovered from advances was 4% less than the highest rate of deposit of the bank. So this was a red flag for anybody. If you are paying for deposits more than what you're recovering for advances, that means there's a problem which has to be looked into, studied. I'm not using the word investigated. Looked into and studied, and then therefore you will land up with a lot of. So that's what I think I've mentioned over here. Ratio analysis, new borrowers, and don't forget the bill purchase, LC, etc. Even that has to be included in the ratio analysis. So ratios are maybe something which we did last in, I think, in financial management paper in CA final, and before that in BCom, somewhere in one of the BCom years, if you've done BCom. New accounts blatantly transferred from old account will be rare, but there might be some people who would like to do that. So we were here. Loan account closures we have covered earlier. CC account, you have to be careful on the export finance. In case you are not familiar with the import-export finance, please take help of some associate. Because what happens is, in case of export finance, you get a. Do you have export finance in your area predominantly?
Yes, sir. It is there.
It's there.
Yes.
So before, it is an open secret that packing credit is given only on order, and the open secret is that the letterhead of the buyer overseas is sitting in the with the borrower in India, and whenever he requires finance, he just types out an order. Nowadays, of course, we have the email exchange, so email is given as proof for packing credit. I'm not saying this is something which would say as fraud, because it's very difficult for us to prove that it is a fraudulent and written over here only. But after the packing credit is for manufacture of good and packing the goods ready for export. At the time of the export, a bill is raised. So bills are raised by the exporter, which can be collected or it can be purchased. Now what happens is that when it is collected, the bank does not look at the formality of the documents because it is to be collected, the risk is of the exporter. But he comes after 4 days and said, now I require money in a hurry, I got a new order. So now you purchase it. So now the purchase is made of a bill which may have faulty documentation. This is where the manipulation by the borrower comes into play. So conversion of bills which are collected to purchase, you can find out because the FBC register, foreign bills for collection register, will have a place where how it is paid off. If it is paid off by a purchase, go into that documentation. The documents will be very faulty. And therefore, the process audit of the LFAR comes into play here. And then you can say that the process of FBP is not good. Believe me, I don't think there'll be a single unqualified report thanks to the LFAR which is amended, which is very good, keeps our position safe. I have reported maybe even 98% or 95% of the cases. So I'm good. There will be no peer review issues, no disqualification issues at all. CC accounts which are overdrawn more than 80 days as of December. Take a report from the CBS. Overdrawn CC for more than 80 days, you will get a report. They will tell you we have 90 days only, but if you say, show me the process in which you get the report, the number of days are mentioned over there. And therefore, those which are more than 80 days, these are your red flag days, red flag accounts to see in case anything gets deteriorated or not deteriorated. Now, again, we have a problem of August 31st. August 31st, it was healthy. I'm not able to bring it down unless I can show that there is fraud here. So in case it's more than 80 days and they have given a temporary advance, then I can look into this matter and call it a fraud in case he keeps on giving temporary advance. You will not believe there is a case of a diamond merchant where temporary advance in 6 months was given 60 times. I repeat, 60 times. Every time a check appeared and then there was no balance, they used to give a temporary advance. And of course, it resulted in a loss. Casual bills of discount. These are not bills. They call it bills, but these are checks. Bills of discount means there should be a financial study of the borrower. The moment there is no study of the borrower, that means it is running at a high risk. The manager says, the manager has told me, I'm giving it at 16%, which is the highest rate. At that time, it was the highest. So what is your problem? I said, I don't have a problem. You earn as much as you like, but you should earn at a risk which is defined by the bank. Why don't you get a formal? If the checks are discounted for 12 months continuously, then you have to take a sanction. This casual bill discount or check discount is for a temporary purpose. Only once or twice in a year, if the borrower or a current account holder has a problem of cash flow, he can get it discounted. The moment it runs into a cycle of more than 2, believe me, this is a big scam. A lot of companies and banks have fallen into this. This is called a kite flying because the check deposited here is also issued from another account from another bank where there is no balance, etc., etc. And therefore, this loop keeps on going. As I mentioned to you once, that transfers of the old account to new account. So in case it is transferred as opening balance, it's a fraud, but they're not always. So that's what I'm saying. The errors in TBA, we had a nice, here also we'll get, I think, when errors are done by a clerk, these are rectified the next day or 2 days later on, but this results in benefit to some borrower. We saw in one case that there's a school account and there's a liquor shop account. The schools in June, by June, they have collected all the fees. They are flush with funds. The wine shop, as we call it in India, or the liquor shop, requires the funds on a daily basis, and is all everybody's hand to mouth. He has to issue the check to the stockist, or the stockist will say give cash and then only take the cases. So what he does, he arranges with the clerk, and the clerk makes an error of depositing of fees instead of the school account into this account, and then rectifies it later on, because by that time the cash flow has occurred with the liquor shop. He is able to sell with the goods and therefore deposit the money in his own account, and therefore the temporary finance which was unauthorization, it was not authorized, taken, it is reversed by means of a error correction. So in case of error corrections, if you spot any while at the analysis of the accounts, you please look at the person who is doing the error. It will be available in the scroll. Call for the scroll of that day. The user ID of that person will be written over there. Now, after the centralization of the checks, these sort of errors will not occur for the checks. They will occur only for the cash. Therefore, operator-wise errors, if you can look at it, fine. Exception reports, believe me, they are, you and I know, they are not helpful at all. Even a new checkbook issued is there in the exception report, new account opened, everything. All I want is in the exception to see is that the master file, if the customer master is changed, as the phone number changed, as the address changed, that is not available. You have to go wait through a lot of data for that. So exception reports I don't look at all. Then window dressing. This is another type of fraud to achieve the targets of advances or deposits or advances or deposits ratio. Every year, half year, the deposits, they tell the branch tells the account holders to not withdraw, etc. Or the branch manager gets it from his old branch. But leverage deposits at the election time are bad because these deposits are unknown deposits. After KYC coming in, we are expecting that these deposits should not be there. But at the time of election, I get phone calls saying that since you know so many banks, can you help us? I said, I can't help you regarding borrowers because if you are ineligible yourself, I'm not going to pressurize them. But they say, no, I'm putting deposits. I said, what's the problem in you putting deposits? He says, I'm putting 100 crores. So 100 crores, you'll get this much commission. I said, bullshit. What they're doing is they put such deposits which are leveraged. They're just number two money which is brought in from outside. And then these deposits, loans are given for funding the election activities. And these are pressurized loans which are given. So in case you see a jump in the deposits, like the bank RBI has asked in the long form audit report about 10 borrowers, you look at the 10 depositors also. And if you see a sudden jump in the deposits, when you see the deposit ratio compared to previous year, then you please go into that. This deposit ratio and cost of deposit also led us to a CBS issue, which will be discussed. And target achievement, as I said, March ending, hurriedly given advances are there, which are normally a problem. Then agriculture advance in metro cities, where they put the collar up saying, "Arey, the farmer's grandfather stays here, so we have given it through here." They are always NPA. These people have never gone and seen the land where it is, what crop it is, or whether the soil is there or not. At least whether it grows above the soil or below the soil, also the officer does not know. Then gold loan. I've given this thing here, a gun sort of thing. This is a handheld instrument which can be carried instead of a machine which is there in a shop. Nowadays gold shops have it to show how much carat this is. Now this gun, I was not aware, believe me, that not only the carats are there, but also the percentage of gold. My assistant and I both had gold rings of 23 carats, but mine had 80% gold and hers was 70% gold or 60% gold. The color difference was there, but they were both 23. That is guaranteed. And the machine also said it's 23. The percentage of gold we did not know. This we found out. Now, I'll share with you one fraud which why it occurred. We had gone for system audit. Believe me, we had not gone there for any other audit. It was none of my business to have opened my mouth. I went to 2 branches or 3 branches which were out such remote place that only 2 STs go there. One in the morning and one in the evening. The evening one may go or may not go. So you have 1 ST going there a day. State transport which is going there. Over there I noticed that there is only one. He is permitted government recognized valuer who is sitting there, but he's sitting in 3 branches. So due to the logistics, I asked that fellow, how do you manage? He said, no, one day in a week I'm here. So I've allocated the number of days. I said, then when do you sit in your own shop? He said, no, my brother looks at it. So sort of he had a lot of explanations, but I had a lot of problem. I said, why is he sitting here full hours? Normally we don't have this. So somehow, I don't know, the talk with him made me suspicious. And as people say, experience makes you do that. So I told the audit department of that bank, you please check out whether the valuation is correct. Nobody can open the packets, you and I know that. But this gun sees through the cloth packet and finds out. Most of them were 80% brass. It was a criminal complaint and all the 3 branches were affected. What he was doing is he was becoming a banker of his own. He was assuring people, don't worry, I'll give you this much loan. Give me your brass items, I'll certify. And of course, take a percentage. We have discussed the subsidized scheme. Loan melas of the past, I mean, obviously, they are no longer existing. You're aware of the non-existing wealth story. I'll just tell you in short that schemes are there for digging borewell and agriculture loan. So fictitious loans are also given. The person may have given a Satbara Utare, the 712 extract and all that of the land to the bank earlier. So that is used for this purpose. Identity is used. So in one case, the person had not borrowed at all. And demands were made for the paying the installment, saying that your thumb impression is there. And the officer has written over the left hand thumb impression of so and so person, etc., etc. There was no well dug at all. So the bank says that that's not my problem. We give you the money. What you did with the money, you alone know. But then somebody whispered in his ear and he said, okay, but then what about the inspection reports? All your own inspection reports say that they have come and inspected the well and therefore the well exists. Now, where is the well? Should I report it to the police saying that my well is stolen? So this is the kind of a joke kind of a thing which is mentioned over there. Then the aspect of tri-party agreements, truck advances and cobbler scam is the one we are discussing next. Here we'll just take a pause. When we did become, we were told that we were a watchdog auditor and not a bloodhound. But the times have changed, I guess, and therefore we may not be a bloodhound, but at least if we sniff blood, we have to report that. There is this case of Siddhivinayak Logistics, who told the bank saying that, you know, you're aware of truck loans are under priority sector, but only up to 4 trucks. Beyond 4 trucks, he becomes a fleet operator. A fleet operator is a commercial borrower, so he does not get it for a subsidized rate. Now, this is important. This borrower said, I will introduce you truck operators. I will give them the business. So what will happen is your target of priority sector will go up. It will be secure because I'm giving the business to them and therefore they will pay back the loan to you. So this is Siddhivinayak Logistics. Actresses were given for in the advertisement. And he said instead of 100 people coming or 2,000 and all, I think the figure is 2,000, into a small branch, I will get to the signatures and therefore the signatures were all false. The borrower did not exist. KYC of the borrower. Now here the process comes into play. For small borrowers also, why should we not have KYC? Everything was false over there, or maybe the documents were submitted were also false. Point is that if he has agreed to pay the truck operators from which the loan is going to be repaid, why not have a tri-party agreement? In many cases, we have found out that tri-party agreement would have saved this borrower who wanted to make a fraud, would have walked away, signed this tri-party agreement. He said, no, I will not sign. Then we will not give. That is the stand they should have taken. The moment it's assured, even for housing loan, I've seen careers of bankers go bust because of this. There's a good company. Maybe it is lasted for a long time, 20 years. But today's condition of economy is such that a 20-year company also may close down. So the company has a good balance sheet. They have got good employees having good salary. So we have given them loan. So one person comes in, 20 people come in. Why don't you get a letter from the company saying that in case we require, we'll get the installment from the company directly? Well, company says no, but then have some agreement that they will pay it to us in case we require in case the bank requires. When the company goes down, the branch manager asks on what basis you give. Now the person has got no job, he's not able to pay. And this is the situation today, not only in the past. This is the situation today. What are you going to do about these kind of housing loans apart from the 6 months moratorium and the extension of the period of loan? Still, the cash flows have suffered. This is of the same Siddhivinayak Logistics. The interior, they have another bus kind of a luxury bus kind of a thing. I never sat in any of these. I don't know whether it survived for a few days or not. Here, this is a model of a fraud which I have developed. It is yet in progress, but I'm sharing with you that a fraud is a cycle of 3 activities of loop discovery, loophole discovery, then you encash it as a fraudster, and then you cover the tracks. The moment this is done, then the person goes and does it again and again and again. The catch is that in most of the cases, the same modus operandi is used. However, we have investigated fraud where 4 different modus operandi were used. And I told the bank, once this guy comes out of jail, I want to hire him because he will then be able to find out other frauds. But the bank told me, if he gets arrested, you mean? I said, yeah, I'm. So here, in Siddhivinayak Logistics, what was there? Financing trucks with assured business. That was the loophole. 2,802 drivers. Documents were forged. Therefore, the identity was forged. And he covered his tracks by servicing the interest and the loan for a few installments only. The moment 2-3 installments come, manager is assured. First aa gaya na, happy. Second aa gaya, happy. Third aa gaya. Same model was used in the cobbler scam. I think it's the next one. This is the cobbler scam. 1995. You can read it. I won't read it much. I was involved in this case at the fag end when the case had reached the Supreme Court. I was in the branch where the chief manager was the AGM. He was representing the bank to appear in the Supreme Court and give evidence. Lucky for the bank, he was a lawyer, and not only just a lawyer, he was possibly an LLM.
Sir, in fact, the slide is not moving, sir.
What are you seeing now?
Watching our bloodhound, the same slide is still moving.
Bloodhound, huh?
Yes.
How about now?
No, sir.
No. Screen halat nahi. Screen halat nahi bol na. Should be here. What's up?
See slide.
Yes, please. All time, no?
अच्छा ठीक है मीटिंग में बाजू
Has, huh?
हो हो
You know? You got now cobbler's camp?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Somehow it stops here only every time. Here also the same modus operandi to give priority loans to cobblers. A lot of big companies with big brand names came to the bank and said that don't worry, we have a society of cobblers. You give them priority sector loans and then we will give them the business. So 2-3 installments they were able to pay. Then what happened was the octroi department, one inspector was scratching his head, saying that suddenly there's a jump in unprocessed leather or processed leather or whatever stage that was, and that was without any octroi to be paid because it's for the smaller sector. But so much quantity, how can it land up in the smaller sector? So after 2 months he investigated and he found out that the society to the name of the person importing from outside the state was that of a cobbler society, and these societies did not exist. There he started an investigation, and therefore the cash flow of these fraudsters stopped, and the banks also had a problem. Big names were there. It took some time, but if you are going to help any bank recover funds, the Supreme Court said a line which will be very helpful, saying they told all the accused that it is true because the accused had not signed any documents of the bank. It is true that you have not borrowed from the bank, but you benefited from the bank's funds and therefore you have to pay it back. So it's such a generalized line. So here the 3 stages are: bogus cooperatives were made, then took the disbursement, and they paid the society, and the society paid them or whatever. They serviced the loan for some time. Again, if they had done a tripartite agreement with the cobblers and the companies, the bank would have been saved. In general, why I developed this model is that suppose I get called tomorrow to investigate a fraud, how far back should I go? That is why. So normally a fraud goes through these steps. It keeps on increasing until it hits some ceiling. Here the octroi department was the ceiling, and there's a limit to how much you can fool people. So that way, this is the ceiling we're talking about. Advances to deposits ratio is what you have to take if you see a sudden jump. Please look at it. Here, what happened was, the story is very dramatic. You are aware that in case of promotions, the bank officials have to do a rural posting. So in case you are staying next to a metro, these officers would like to go to a branch which is just outside the metro, just 5 miles away, 10 kilometers away, so that they can return every day. Maybe the return journey, maybe the journey will be longer. But in place like Bombay, the journey inside Bombay is also longer, so that is better sometimes. So in one such branch, the staff had already left half an hour early because the passenger train which connects that branch location with the city is half an hour early. Only people present in the branch were the peon and the branch manager. One man knocked on the door. The peon told him that nobody is there. He insisted on meeting the branch manager. In the end, he went inside. The branch manager told him, I cannot tell you even your balance because everything is closed now. He said, no, I'm not a customer of yours. I just want to talk to you. He said, okay, go ahead, talk. He says, I want to I'm an importer. He said, I can't give you this loan at all because this is a rural branch. I can't give you for importing. He said, no, I don't want loan at all. I just want a line from you saying that on due date I will pay. The branch manager started laughing. You are defining a letter of credit. What is this? A small scrap of paper given to a neighbor or what? I will pay. He said, okay, this may be a letter of credit, but this is a branch with rural. Again, he repeated the same thing. Then the customer said, but I'm giving 100% security with you. Now this manager's ear went up, it opened up. He says, okay, so I can achieve a deposit target here. So how much are we talking about? He said 500 crores. The manager jumped up. He said, what are you talking about? 500 crores. Then he did the calculation that if 500 crores arrived in his branch as deposit, the deposit target of his branch is achieved for next 250 years. If advances are given of 500 because LC is an advance, the advance target is given for achieved for 50 years. He would be the king. Next position from a rural branch to direct to MD. I don't know what. Must be a dream. He said, okay, now we are talking something. Let's go to meet the regional manager tomorrow. Without his permission, I have absolutely no authority to do that. So they met outside. He took him to the regional manager. Regional manager heard him, and the regional manager told the manager, okay, you will get the credit for this whole operation, but LC will be issued from the city branch, but you should not hand over the LC to him without having first received the deposits fully. He said, don't worry, I'll do that. Nothing in transit. Check in the mail, no such thing. Money came, LC issued, 3-month bills were there against the LC, and the LC devolved. When the LC is not paid, it's called devolved. So devolvement of LC was there, and the money was paid from the deposits which of the borrower, of the customer. Here, at this point of time, in a live audience, I would ask you, what is the damage done? Bank has not lost anything.
Yes.
The deposit was given by the customer.
Yes.
He did not pay. The bank had to pay because LCs, there are few reasons only on which the LC cannot be paid. One is fraud, or there is a political problem, or the country itself is closed. Like Indian peacekeeping forces went into Sri Lanka. So that time the country got closed. So we had problem over there. So that time the LCs were not paid. So no such thing here. The damage done is that official bank channels are used for unofficial purposes. There was no import. This is the fodder scam. Instead of fodder, thermocol was imported. Would you have found this out? As I told you, moment you do the deposits and advances over the year and in internal interest recovery ratios, 2-3 ratios, you will find it out before going to the branch. Take their balance sheet before last year and this year, and of the same balance sheet, take the ratios and inter balance sheet. Here, if you have looked into this account, you will find that no inspection report of the importer was done. In case you are an importer, you are supposed to have a warehouse. Sanction was there. After the devolvement, did the person go to find out? They just stayed in the branch. They said, "Nahi aa raha hai, usko letter likha, phone kiya, whatever, he's not answering." If you go, you would have found out that the office is located on the 2nd floor of a building which is just a ground floor godown, non-existent of the premises. How can you issue LC without papers? Now the staff will accommodate the client or self. First flow is the cash flow. The first one I told you, school fees mixed up with the wine shop and error. Second one was very funny. It was told to me by GM, and he showed me that packing credit, which is supposed to be a sanctioned facility, and a proper documentation should be there every time a packing credit account is opened. They used to get a check in inward clearing which is issued by their customer, and they say, okay, paisa nahi hai na, packing credit ka stamp maro. So they used to put a stamp called packing credit granted. Kindly refuse and say that the process of sanctioning loans in this branch is wrong. You have the right to say this in the new LFAR. Letter of understanding, absolutely nothing today. And dummy associate borrowers are there. So that's very sometimes difficult to find out. Last 2 points, interest not charged. In one case, under the manual case, I have to refer to you because of the person being too overconfident. You have the sheets in the ledger. So we were turning sheets and we found out that 2 sheets, it was not allotted. The interest was not calculated. And the 2 sheets belonged to one borrower only. All sanction facility, but one borrower only was not charged. And at that time, I think it was a quarterly interest to be charged. And that quarter, the total interest was 60 lakhs, which was not charged at all. The moment I discussed it with the head of the branch, who was an AGM, he got up, he physically got up and said, what do you mean? I said, I mean what I say. You got to get the ledger here. There were 2 premises. It was on the other side of the road. He said, no. Our head office will get angry. They'll call sit up. They'll fire that fellow. Have you talked to him at least? I said, first I talked to him. What did he say? He said, report. So the manager did not believe me, AGM. He called him on the intercom, come here. So he says, he found out that you have not charged interest. He said, yes. Now he's reporting it. So the fellow said, yes. He said, then the manager said, go. He's a blatant fellow. He doesn't care about his career. What do I do? Now you can imagine what connection he must have had with the borrower and therefore not caring about those retirement funds. That is all I can say. Because the manager tried to tell me that next time you report, I said next time, firstly, whether I'm coming here or not, I don't know. And even if I won the next auditor, what will I say next time you found out, see, I told you, I'll be in a problem if I found out and not reported. What are you talking about? My license will go, I'll be suspended. I cannot hide this. This is too much to hide. Now in case of CBS, this I'll tell you how to find out. In case I don't forget to tell you, please remind me. In CBS, when an account is opened, they are supposed to write percentage of interest to be charged. We have found out, I don't know whether I have a slide here or not, we have found out that in a gold loan account, the interest to be charged was written as 0. So the CBS system applied 0% to this account and went ahead and fined. How to find this out? Take a product report you take and make sure that the report is selected for even 0 interest, because some of these systems say that in case the interest is 0, don't print, or in case the account is closed, don't print. So no, select all accounts and including 0, and you will find out that there is because all these interest reports has balance before interest and balance after interest, or the products, something or the other, some balance is there. So there is a product and there is no interest. You found this account among the lakhs of accounts, because in case you are taken in a format which is TXT format and converted into Excel, you sort it. No, you sort it for the least to most. From least to most, when you sort it, you get this as 0. You find out, okay, there was nothing taken. Account was opened, nothing was taken. Normal, fine. But here you'll find that there are products and therefore there is a borrowing and yet there is 0. Now why? Even if there are lakhs, you will find it out immediately. The moment you convert it into Excel format and you sort it from lowest to the highest, you will find this right at the top. Sorting problems, sorting time, nothing, absolutely nothing. We are talking about less than 10 seconds. Even conversion, my assistants do it in less than half a minute. So make sure they know how to do it. I may take longer, but my advantage is that the assistants forget every year and I have to remind them. So here is a proof that the interest was sometimes not levied. If you see both and February, the explanation given here is for December as well as January, the interest is charged. This is due to our concurrent audit action, and because we were there, we were able to tell them in the next month. then interest is not charged because interest report was generated at the end of the month and then we got it in the month of January. That's why we found it out exactly this way as I have told you. This is a building which you may not be aware. This is Brady House. This is a Brady House where the branch of Nirav Modi was located. So simple import, I'm explaining the issue over here. Simple import. 5-star diamond, Nirav Modi's company. He orders diamonds from somebody in Hong Kong. They ship it and he pays him. Fine. Here, none of the banks are involved. His bank is not involved. Correspondent bank is not involved. Buyer's bank is not involved. No other bank is involved because he does the payment. Now here what happens is, he places an order. Then he applies for a letter of comfort. This letter of comfort is forwarded by Punjab National Bank, his banker, or letter of credit to another branch of Punjab National Bank in Hong Kong, or the correspondent bank, or maybe Axis Bank is there or some other bank is there, who then informs the seller that we have received this letter, and then the seller says, I am not interested in the letter, I am interested in funds, so give me funds against that. So he takes the funds. This is called buyer's credit. He ships the diamonds and informs them with the airway bill and all that the diamonds are shipped. Then on due date, 5-star diamond has to pay them. Problem was that both the parties belong to the same person. So all he has done is he's received some diamonds, may or may not be of the same value, and he has shifted funds overseas into his own control. So instead of high value, he has imported physically low value, but sent money outside into his own account. Here, problem of territory comes in, problem of other things come in. The only problem, main problem here as an auditor was that this is not connected to the CBS system. And if it was connected, the letters of credit, as I mentioned, or letters of comfort, anything which the bank is doing, which is not funded also, has to come through a sanction, unless it is just, has to come through a formal sanction, unless it is a temporary advance by check purchase. Everything should be a sanction. Financial situation of the borrower should be seen. Now here, the auditor was also misled. RBI inspectors were also misled. The only small point which I could find out possibly is that LC commission, here LOC commission, that is letter of comfort commission. If that commission can be tracked, how come we have got commission from 70 instruments and the register shows only 4? Then the question would be arising. But the problem is this commission account has got domestic as well as foreign, as well as this and as well as that. So even that is jumbled up. So this was a very highly thought of fraud. So what only care we can take today is what departments are not connected to the CBS. As system auditor today, I've got a system audit of a bank. I've got problem of this department. HR is not connected. Treasury is not connected. So how is it connected? That is the weakest link. If HR is not connected, I don't know what the salary paid is correct or not. So what are the processes which are doing? I have to look into that. So in case, you know, the LC, who gets it? And casual LC is given at the rarest of rare case. As I said, LC must be paid except for expired LC, discrepancies, fraud, or insolvent bank. Bank itself is insolvent. That is, otherwise it has to be paid immediately. They say that Deloitte rang alarm bells 2 years earlier. What did he say exactly? He said that they did not have an appropriate internal control for determination of net realizable value of closing inventory. Closing inventory is diamonds here. RBI has already taken diamonds out of the purview of inspection by chartered accountants, saying that we don't understand the difference between glass and diamonds. They have taken it out. They have taken their opinion. Fine. What else to do for us? What they said was internal control of closing inventory. They have never said the relationship between the importer and the exporter and this importer, their trading clients. They have not mentioned that at all. I don't know whether this can be taken as a warning signal from them at all. This reminds me, let it be, it will be. This letter of undertaking or letter of, not undertaking, the letter of comfort. This will be overlapping. Before the money comes in, the second volume will be issued. Here I'm just saying category ABC branches. A has got foreign exchange dealing room, B foreign exchange business but no foreign exchange room, and C is no foreign exchange transaction, but they go to the nodal branch to do the transaction. They have a mirror account in rupees. The mirror account does not have any self-tallying like a trial balance, not connected with the CBS system. So you have to be careful over there. Speed breakers over here was Swift area is outside the authority of the auditor. It is not linked to the CBS. Now it is. This slide was made much before the LFAR came in. So top 5 to 10 borrowers or 10 borrowers you must see. Profit contribution departments. Now you have income from various departments, commission, draft commission and all that stuff. Bills of exchange are there, then interest is there. It is your normal logic which you will find that saying that interest earned and interest paid should be the main departments of income and expenditure of the bank. So of the branch also it should be the same. However, in one branch which was newly opened, we found out that the discount of check purchase was the highest. That was the highest contributor to the bank, which is a red flag. And later on, this branch turned out to be one of the kite flying branches. So that you have to see. Jatin Mehta, another diamond fraudster. There the value, book value, and all that the auditors mentions this very critical and very pointed issues about the borrower in his balance sheet and annual report. So here I would store the limit change report of this borrower because as I mentioned earlier, 60 times in 6 months it is increased. And naturally the person who has officially given initially, maybe the regional office has given, they are not in the picture at all. Then maker and checker on the change of limits, these people are involved. You have to give evidence so that tomorrow when they go into court, responsibility is tagged. Let them say that telephonic sanction was given. Let them say that. Full statement of operation, calculating even the penal interest rate and interest lost. That also should come in because the temporary limit change report means that temporary unauthorized you have increased. When you have increased, then ordinary rate of interest will be charged. But however, it should have been charged penal rate of interest. In Bank of Maharashtra, we have a technical issue. Should we look into that? Some UPI system, there was a problem and 50-60 people in Aurangabad discovered the loophole that you could send money without having money in your account. And it just went on for a few days. Reconciliation was not done by the bank. So here a very old shield of protection is reconciliation. The moment any transaction is done with outsiders, is it reconciled? That is what system should be in the branch in case the branch is doing it. So UPI is a real-time system that we know. What happened was that during there was a system where the system had to check up 3 times for a yes answer, and somehow how a yes answer went in the third attempt or the second attempt when the first went no, we don't know. Here, a Cosmos Bank server hacked is the. Let's look at a normal cycle. A person goes for shopping or petrol pump, card is swiped, the petrol pump dealer gives it to his bank, the transaction. So let's say it's a Visa one, and therefore it identifies that it has to go to this Cosmos Bank, and then Cosmos Bank pays Visa switch. The Visa switch pays to this bank, and which pays the petrol pump dealer. And on due date, because it's a credit card, it approaches the credit card holder, and the credit card holder pays the bank. This is a normal cycle. What went wrong was when the petrol was purchased, the card was swiped, banker got the Visa switch. Visa switch tried to connect to the bank, but a proxy server was in between. A proxy server means a server that acts as the bank, but it is not. So what happened here was the proxy server did not look at any of the account, any of the card which is swiped, and said, yes, go ahead and pay. So it paid, Visa switch got a yes, pay this thing, and it paid. Now here, did the Cosmos Bank try to recover from the card holder? No, because they don't even know who to recover from even today, because this proxy server was not there. Somebody has placed it. Now this proxy server cannot be placed physically or illogically in between without the connivance of the technical people. The network people know how the signals are coming. The network was diverted and a proxy server was placed. This does not mean a server was physically taken and put into the server farm of the bank. The network is coming from outside. All you got to do is get that wire. That's why as system monitors, we look at the wiring right outside the data center, how good it is. If it is just like your telephone wire, finished. Anybody can just pick it up and attach your telephone to my telephone line. So that way, this was done. This information I'm giving you only on the basis of public information and not on my investigation. Then third party software, you have to be very careful how they are linked. It should not be linked via TXT in the CBS because TXT can be manipulated. However, there are some controls on TXT also, which some banks have done beautifully, that in case of manipulation, there is a check digit which changes. Normally, these departments are not connected directly. Look at this, my account only, so I can share. My housing loan, my saving account was funded throughout the year, yet they charged me penal interest, and the penal interest was very low, but yet they admitted that it was wrongly charged. I cannot for sure tell you why this happened, but I can tell you this, that Infosys or the Finacle was the software here, and Finacle had nothing to do with this error. Only the setting set by the staff had to do with this error. That is, in case my installment fell due on the anniversary date happened to be a Sunday or a string of bank holidays, the recovery was done the day later, and therefore for 3 days I am late is what the system feels, and therefore levied a penal interest. This is the only conclusion I have. And therefore, as of date, in case of holidays, there is a system there. Only problem is these people don't have time to learn new systems, and therefore I wanted to wake them up into this. Here is a dangerous thing. If it can collect extra interest, can it pay extra interest? Please look at the screen, the first half. This is the area created at the time of creation of deposits, which I mentioned over here in the first bracket. At the time of creation of deposit, this is the cumulative interest deposit. It says that the maturity amount will be 4,93,923. And below, this is the data created by operation. In this system, it is giving it in me on one screen only. Here, on 15 March 2013, the deposit of 4,18,200 was placed. Then on 30th March, that is after 15 days or 16 days, interest was paid 2,320. then after 1 quarter 11,827 and so forth, and therefore the maturity value came to 4,96,664 instead of 4,93,923. 1,000 extra. Why? In this month, in this quarter, double interest was paid. Only to this account? No, the system had an error. Why the system had an error, one does not know. Unless I investigate, I cannot tell you. And most of the time after investigation also, I cannot tell you. But more important is how I came to know there's a problem. That is important. Simple. Interest deposit ratio. Cost of deposit went up tremendously. The directors also told me, that the interest rate has gone up. See, the year is 2014. So interest rate has gone up at that time. But I said your interest rate has gone up by 2%, while in cost of deposits, your rate has gone up by 4%. Something seriously wrong. I was telling them seriously wrong for 7 days. And then we investigated and found this out. Now look at the problem. I said, you have done this. The IT manager said, "Arey, don't worry, we found this out earlier. Yeah, no, you're not the first person." I said, "Yeah. So what did you do?" He said, the programmer was here of the supplier, software supplier. And he wrote a line that in case of payment of deposits, if this amount is lower than this amount, then pay the lower of the two. If the theoretical, that is the booked maturity amount, is lower than the actual maturity amount, then pay the lower of the two. I said, beautiful. So no money lost. I am sitting in the month of October as a system auditor, and this is what? December. So March has passed by. So I said, are you trying to tell me all your deposits have matured before March? Then he went cold. I could see the blood drain from his face. He said, no. I said, you are not adjusted for that. He said, but the money is still in the bank. I said, money is still in the bank, but what you've done is you have paid less taxes. This is a data center, all your branches, which are 18 of them, you have showed higher interest as cost of funds, and you have shown less profit, and therefore you have paid less tax. They tried to tell me, they tried to threaten me next year. I said, I cannot rub this under the carpet at all. Of course, this was the last assignment I got. I never got a reassignment from this bank afterwards. But I have a policy, rather my past than my future. Okay, my past relationship gone, something other will happen. I will not be hungry. That I make sure. Here, in case anybody was watching on mobile, I've done this is at the time of creation, we have 4,93,923. And at the time of the actual accumulation, it is 4,96,000. Here, accommodation of client or self, the cashier abuse is there, which is interesting. And the loans and interest rate. Allowances for officiating. Normally, we don't look at this in the, no time to look at this actually in most of the audits. But when a clerk officiates as an officer, he gets an officiating allowance. Who tells that he's officiating? The branch tells. The branch is itself small. So all friends together are conspirators together. Then loans granted within the power of the branch, those you may have to see, because even though they may be small, I would suggest you take a sample and check up. I'll tell you why. Because there is one share market scamster whose brother was working in a bank. In that branch, a person who was working for 20 years in the HR department, which the banks call the personnel department of the bank, was transferred as a branch manager. For one day, he just sat in the branch and found out what is going on. And then later on, he said, I'll go for inspection of small borrowers. So this man comes and tells him, don't go for small borrowers, go for large borrowers. But this branch manager says, I should go for branch large borrowers because in case I open my mouth and make some errors, the large borrower will go complaining to the MD or the zonal office. So let me first see that Dhobi, the washerman's iron. I'll see that, or the sewing machine of a single tailor. I'll see that inspection for this Friday. So the officer goes away and then comes back at the time of closing and puts a fat ledger of priority sector loan advances, saying that all these advances are false and I have taken the money. Therefore, only large advances is not what you should see. You should see also the small ones of within the power of the branch, and that is the sample check I recommend you to take. The interest rate, as I told you, that here is the screen. This is a gold loan which is mentioned here, and 0% rate of interest. As I told you, what happened was that they had not filled this up correctly and it went on. You find out the product rate, interest levy report, and you will find out that although there is a product, there is no interest. Whenever there is access to backend, the controls are not there, and a super user can access the database without any controls. So this is one of the investigation cases we had. IT staff was involved. There was in a small town, the facility given by some of the households of lunch and dinner. So there was this lady who used to give lunch and all that, and this IT staff used to go for lunch over there, being a bachelor in that town. And then she was having a marketing income, some sales income of 2,200 where she used to withdraw. So what she used to do is write a self-check, sign it, and then write the figure. He used to tell her, somehow convince her, don't worry, don't take time writing the figure, I'll write. In words. She never used to be careful on what to write. 2,200 she used to write, leaving space. Then this person used to write the figures before that. As you can see here, they are clearly of a different ink than the others. But the cashier was very clever. He took the initials of the person taking cash. He said, I know you. You are my officer, you are my staff. But you are taking it, so my policy is there. How did this person have enough balance to withdraw? Was that this was an IT staff, it was before CBS, and he used to go to opening balance 4 years earlier, change the balance, and the passing officer used to just see whether the account has a balance. You cannot have intimate information about the income of the person, of all the people, and that too for a saving account. That you definitely will not have. So he used to look at the balance, okay, and it was paid. So benefit to the perpetuator was this much. That is the list I made. Statement shows this, when actually it is withdrawn as this. Then you should change everything. Now we're talking about a cashier. As you read this slide, let me tell you the story. State Bank of India, Parliament Road branch. 2 crores were taken out of the dual control. 2 crores are sent back to the dual control at the end of the day. You are aware that there is a safe called dual control. All safes in the bank have got 2 keys minimum, where without one person cannot have access to the cash of the branch. So 2 people are involved, and whenever they withdraw the cash, a dual control register is signed where the amount cash withdrawn is written. Here is where I'm trying to tell you how to find out a fraud in 2 seconds. I'll tell you the fraud first, then I'll tell you how to find it out. When 2 crores are withdrawn, are 2 crores paid? Is there enough traffic in the branch for cash withdrawal for payment of 2 crores? Nobody saw. Why? Because most of it was given by the cashier to his friends who were standing in the line, who take the cash from him, nothing is written anywhere, and they return back and give him the cash with the extra amount of his commission or interest for the day. So he is funding the businessman of daily business without knowledge of anybody. All you got to do is take the dual control passbook, ask for it, and you check up the payment section of the cashier, which is a single page. Check up if 2 crores are withdrawn, are 1 crore 90 lakhs paid in a small branch, is 5 lakhs withdrawn from the dual control, and is 4 lakhs at least paid. If only 40,000 and 50,000 are paid, why are you withdrawing like this? If you ask, they'll give a standard answer. I have to disturb the officer. But will the officer be disturbed? Is there a system that stops them from opening from more than one time? No. You won't believe the audacity of the cashier when we were sitting over there. He calls up a client, a customer, firing him on the phone very loudly within my hearing, saying that I paid you extra. Why don't you return the cash? You should understand you got extra. How can a cashier pay extra? I've never heard a cashier accidentally pay extra. I've seen a cashier fumbling for finding out the cash and the bundle is fallen down behind the drawer. I've never seen them pay a customer and then to customer walk away with the money. Luckily for me, there were 3 cashiers, with one cashier being the main cashier was shouting. So as the junior cashier, kya natak hai? What is the drama going on? So she told me that this is his daily thing here. Daily. I said, daily? Yes. Actually, he gives extra and then he blames us that we have given extra. We have not given extra. We never give. We are very careful. But this red flag was enough. The next day I came and I told the manager, I want to inspect his cash in between. I want the proof in between of the operation, and you're authorized to do that. Please remember that. If you have a reason, you're authorized to do that. I made the manager stand with me and count, and there was shortage. He was asked to explain the shortage, which he said he could not. He said, I given to the other cashier denied. All that nice argument of drama happened. Later on, he was suspended, investigation found out, and then he was fired. So this, to find out such a case, 2 seconds, dual control register, how much is withdrawn, and look at the payment, average payment. You just look at 1 week's payments is enough. I understand that in the first week, when the salaries are high, salary withdrawals are high, there will be high withdrawals and payouts. But the rest of the month, it will not be there. So account for that. Account for the season of first 10 days. After, salaried people have to withdraw. As you see, the 10 borrowers, top 10 borrowers or new borrowers, you'll find examples of procedure problem. So this is where the process of banking comes into play. And you find that some registers are not maintained at all. There are so many registers in the bank that the register of toilets is the only register which is missing. The register for everything, the key register is there. I hand over the keys. I do this, I do that, who has the locks of the lock keys, etc. And then computer related, not following the formality, is the account closure. You see, the formality of closing an account, a borrowal account, is there in the system. If it is just made 0, then the account remains open. And if an account remains open, then it is a conduit for fraud. Transfers are done into that account, and then from there to another account, and then it is withdrawn. So therefore, these accounts which are closed should be actually closed. KYC information is not fed into the CBS system. It is there, is what they feel in paper, and therefore I should not be aware of it. If it is not there in the system, you check up the new accounts which are opened, and as a system auditor, we find a lot of these problems. But you find out as statutory auditors, say the process of opening of accounts is not correct, and give some examples. Stock and debtors value, you are aware that as of March, for the month of March, nobody gives you the stock statement which matches that of the balance sheet. The call is yours to take, but rest of the year at least it should be there. I have finished now, but let me just give you an example of the stock and debtors value. The inspection report, one of the last inspection report which they go back and see is the stock inspection report. A person has visited the premises of the borrower. What is his reading? Earlier, we used to call such inspections as Coca-Cola inspection because that is the only period of time the inspector used to spend over there. That is to drink a glass of Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola inspection. Kya kiya? Jaake Coca-Cola piya and I said everything in order. The bank official, when he goes to the borrower, he has a problem. He has to maintain relationship. When it is given to a third party like a chartered accountant, he does not have to maintain daily relationship with the borrower. Therefore, he can be honest about his findings, provided he does the hard work. Hard work has to be done. I can't go into a beer factory and then just taste the beer and come back. I wanted to do beer factory, but I did not taste the beer. I tasted their process of making the beer, how they are doing it, asked them technical questions, and went into the QC, the quality control. He said, "You're the first guy to ask for quality control." I said, my reasoning is very logic, is very simple. If you have quality, you can sell. If you can sell, you can pay the bank. It is very simple logic. He said, "But nobody has seen this at all." I said, "Then good. No, you got a visitor. You should be feeling happy." I think I finished little before time, but I think we have time for questions. So I just stop the share.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. It was an excellent presentation with a lot of live examples. We all enjoyed it, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Dear members, if you have any specific questions, you can ask the speaker. He is ready. Sir, in Kannur, this is the first time we are having a full session on frauds in bank audit. Thank you so much, sir. You covered everything.
You won't believe me. I started way back in I think 98 or 99, and since the first lecture itself, there were people asking me, "Can you please talk about frauds?" Because I may be staring at a fraud and I don't know. But frankly speaking, I had not seen a fraud until then. So I said, when I see, I'll tell you. I caught that fellow later on and I told him, said, "See, you told me this, and therefore, feedback is important. That's what they expect." So I will share with you the document which you can send to the others. There are 5-6 cases which there was no time for me to discuss. So I have discussed over there of the technicality of the fraud, how complex it is, how I went about finding it out. So not only the fraud, but how to find out also, that you can get some inspiration. Okay, sir. Shall we?
If anyone is having any doubt, sir is ready to answer. Sir, I think nationalist banks are yet to issue the appointment letters. Sir. Only private sector banks have issued appointment letters.
Yes.
And
that too, new people will not get it. That is if a new person gets it, somebody told me that you should go and buy a lottery. That means your luck is very high.
Sir, still this year bank audit will be there, sir. Any reduction in bank audit?
I'm not aware of. Frankly speaking, there will be reduction, is what we have heard. Yes.
Sir, once again, thank you, sir. I think everything is clear. There is no doubts or queries there.
Yeah. Otherwise, I'm available in the email.
Please, sir. Please, you send me the material. We will share it to all the members, sir. Please, sir.
Yes. Okay. Immediately.
Please, sir. Now, no, sir. Now I request our secretary, Professor, to propose the formal vote of thanks, sir.
Okay.
Chairman of Kannur branch, Chartered Accountant PJ, very esteemed member in our profession and very renowned and learned speaker, Chartered Accountant Nitant Trilokekar, my dear members in the profession, most of the members may agree that bank audit is a risky assignment. To overcome this, seminars like today's that led by such an eminent, well-experienced and learned faculty, CA Nitant Trilokekar, will definitely help our CA fraternity. All of you will agree that he is a favorite speaker at seminars on bank audit. We are fortunate that for leading this discussion, we had a very illustrious and renowned chartered accountant, Nitant Trilokekar, as we wished. He presented the paper outstandingly well. We are very grateful to him for spending his valuable time with us, sharing his knowledge, and for the excellent presentation. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. We look ahead your continued support and association with our Kannur branch. I express our sincere thanks to the chairman, CA PJ Reggie, for presiding over the seminar and for his initiative in organizing this wonderful CP seminar. I am very pleased to express our sincere gratitude to all the participants, all the members, for their gracious presence and for the active participation. Please take care, my friends. Good night.
Thank you, sir. No, sir, thank you so much. Once again, thank you, sir.